Hi, good to see you. The Appleton family gathered on the patio to enjoy the beautiful summer weather. Craig, the head of the family, sat in the shade of the gazebo, wearing a robe and a black bandage over his eyes. He sipped his coffee as his wife Diana sunbathed on a lounger, sipping a cocktail. Diana looked stunning, with her perfect figure and impeccable looks. She playfully touched her long, dark eyelashes. Craig yelled at Lisa, his stepdaughter, a 7-year-old, telling her to stop running around the pool while she was playing with the net. Lisa stopped running. "Would you mind playing quietly for a minimum of 5 minutes? The girl, who had grown accustomed to her stepmother's cold treatment, flinched not even when scolded. Instead, she landed gracefully on the pool's edge, her curly brown hair and plump cheeks making her look like a little angel. With great care, Lisa removed her phone from her pocket in order to get a photo. As she drew nearer to the pool's edge, she unexpectedly lost her footing, as they plummeted into the depths of the ocean. In a fit of terror, Lisa's father hurried to the pool, but he was nearly blind, so he walked extremely unsteadily, grabbing the edge of the pool with his hands. He begged his wife for assistance as he screamed, "Daddy, I'm drowning." "Listen, Diana, Lisa needs your help. I bet you I can't see a thing. Where am I going?" Additionally, the woman did nothing but protest while sitting on the lounger. "I warned you, my little brat, to be quiet. Now you're going to impart wisdom upon you. Listen to the girl's cries, gardener, and then get out of there by swimming to the edge." Peter hurled his lawnmower into the pool, dove in, and saved the girl from the water as fast as he could. Lisa ran to her father, embraced him tightly, and sobbed as she wailed, "Everything is okay, my darling. We'll get you a new phone. I was frightened since all I wanted to do was take a photo of a butterfly. What matters most is that you're alive and well. Come inside to change clothes, but be cautious and don't approach the tile's edge. Is quite slippery. Don't frighten Daddy in that way." Diana lost it and exploded in anger, accusing Craig of being weak for not punishing Diana for disobeying. "Diana nearly drowned and damaged an expensive item, but instead you lavish her with attention and support. When will you find a nanny for your daughter? Diana is spoiled and intolerable." Craig scolded Diana harshly, saying, "How dare you? Instead of pitching in, you sat here and thanked Peter. Lisa is just a little girl who lost her mom, and I love her very much. If we're going to be together, you'll have to accept this. Do you really believe that having a child of your own will keep them from acting out? I'll definitely hire a nanny. I've already put an ad up, but it's really tough to do because I'm blind now." Diana swiftly retracted her previous statement after realizing she had crossed a line. "Don't be angry, my dear. You know how much I love you, but I cannot be bound to. Lisa, I am completely booked for the rest of the day at my fitness, massage, and salon classes. On top of that, your daughter and business are on me. Please, find a nanny as soon as possible. We could all use some relief. In any case, I am going to get a manicure and massage at 2 places. I hope you don't miss me too much." Lisa, relieved that her stepmother was leaving, sat silently by her father and gently hugged him. "Daddy, I didn't mean to," Lisa said. "Why is Diana so mean? She doesn't love me and you. I don't think you're noticing, but I miss my mommy so much. As for you, the dad, you embraced his daughter, and I miss her too. My mom was the best, but you know she's in heaven now. Diana is decent. We're just still getting to know each other. I promise you'll pick the nanny on your own." The girl kissed her dad and ran off to play with her dolls in the yard, while Craig closed his eyes in agony and began to reflect on his life. His first wife, Vanessa, was beautiful and had a knack for wonderful housewife. She came from a good family, and most importantly, she loved Craig. They were supposed to live happily ever after, but 2 years ago, Vanessa died of a serious genetic illness. The symptoms began after childbirth and progressed from a loss of vision and memory to the inability to move her arms or legs, and eventually, she became bedridden and slowly faded away. It was terrifying to see such a young and beautiful woman become an invalid, and Craig howled in despair because he couldn't do anything to help his beloved. Their daughter retreated, sobbed for a long time, and continued to mourn her mom after Vanessa's funeral, despite his spending on all the treatment in the world. At a business dinner, Craig overheard Diana and her friend having a good time while sipping martinis and chatting happily about something. The evening quickly turned into a dance party, and Craig found himself helpless in the face of the youthful and carefree Diana and her friend. Their passion began over an attractive physique and the relentless pursuit of beauty, leading to a hasty marriage. Diana felt immediately at home and in charge, confidently delegating duties and making commands. Yet, she and Lisa had an ill-fated romance. Even after 2 years, the situation remained the same. The stepmother and stepdaughter openly battled, and just 2 weeks ago, that tragic incident occurred. Craig honestly believed that Lisa was simply jealous of him and his new wife. Something went wrong with their driver. The businessman stayed late that day, and as he was walking to his car in the parking lot, 3 bandits ambushed him from behind. Craig began to fight back, but one of the criminals sprayed pepper spray directly into his face. Luckily, a patrol car drove by and scared off the hooligans, but the burns were so severe that Craig had to start walking around wearing black blindfold or sunglasses during his intense therapy. The physicians gave him hope by warning that he would need an operation to restore his vision if the meds didn't work. However, he was still quite worried about the prospect. For a while, Craig was unable to leave his house due to his disability. What irritated the businessman even more was the fact that he had no idea who he had offended. He hadn't experienced such heated disagreements in a long time, and now he had to run the firm from his home, communicating with partners over the phone and organize virtual gatherings. Diana, Craig's wife, unexpectedly became involved with the firm and dove headfirst into it. Just as he was about to finish thinking about it, a lovely voice interrupted. "Good afternoon. Are you Craig Appleton?" "Hi, I'm Carol, and I'm here today to apply for the position of nanny. My interview is at 1:00. Even though he couldn't see his interlocutor, the businessman couldn't help but smile and begin to ask the girl a series of questions, seemingly captivated by her charm. "Carol, I'm curious about your age and experience working with youngsters. I'm not sure if I would be a good fit for you, but I am willing to work for a small fee and have a deep love for children. I'm also curious about your educational background and any references you may have from your previous employer." "Thank you. Earlier, I had the pleasure of meeting Lisa. She is an amazing girl. I vowed to be there for her whenever she needed me, and I will not let her down." Just then, Lisa's little sister came racing up to tell me that her father was looking nervous, but she soon began to speak with a smile, playfully teasing Carol. "Daddy, squeeze in some juice." "Hi, Carol." She has a wonderful voice, and Lisa really liked her on her first impression. "Carol, you're hired, but there will be a trial period. You can start right now, and there is a schedule of lessons and a daily routine. I really like her, and you said recently that I would choose a nanny myself. However, I don't think she is mature enough to be a nanny, and I don't have any recommendations." From that day on, Carol worked tirelessly for the Appleton family. Lisa adored her. She never scolded or pressured her. Instead, they were more like friends. On top of that, you'll have to accompany the child to dance and art classes, walk with her, help her with her homework, and make sure she eats well. I'll need you to report any changes in her health." The girl nearly cried from happiness at the prospect of this job. "Thank you so much. You won't regret it." Friends, I don't care for oatmeal, but if Carol saw that Lisa was putting off writing the sad letters, she would use a trick. She would immediately organize a competition. The winner would get the largest and tastiest vanilla ice cream, and the loser would have to eat it for 2 days. To avoid eating the disgusting porridge that Carol insisted on eating, Lisa laboriously pinned the letters of the alphabet. The new nanny was a hit with Craig and his. Diana, who was not happy about the new nanny, mumbled things like, "You chose a strange nanny for Lisa. Not only is she a young upstart, but she spoils your daughter more than you do." Her daughter was doing well in school and had a positive attitude in the evenings, when she enthusiastically discussed Carol teaching her how to make fancy hairstyles or macrame. As a result, Lisa began to ignore me, which used to make Diana angry, but now she continues to remain silent and approaches Carol for comfort. Craig playfully remarked, "You won't be content with anyone, my dear. Having a nanny is bad for you, but no nanny is bad for you." He went on to say that if Lisa is unpleasant or uncommunicative, it could be because you don't want to connect with the child. There was a grand piano in the mansion, and Craig used to be a musician there, So Diana pursed her lips and reluctantly became silent, thinking to herself, "Do whatever you want, just keep that annoying girl away from me." He would occasionally feel nostalgic and play some melodies on it. However, his heart would sink as he heard Carol and Lisa playing the dog waltz on the piano together, their laughter filling the air. Almost falling off his chair, he asked Carol, "Do you play the piano?" Carol blushed and replied, "I'm not a specialist. I had a good music teacher in the orphanage who taught me and said I had talent. I really love music, especially this melody it touches my soul." And as Carol's gentle love song played, Craig surrendered to the music, sobbing uncontrollably. The memories of his past haunted him, and he kept telling himself, "My God, this is just not possible," as he sank into a deep depression. After Carol completed, he praised her and said, "Where did you learn this melody?" Rachel, who was his neighbor, told him, "She's a good woman." Rachel added that the melody wasn't recorded anywhere and that it was written by someone he knew. Amazing if you could hear her play, but she's been through a lot recently, losing her son and being dismissed from her job for no apparent reason, leaving her in a state of profound sadness. Craig, whose heart was pounding and his legs growing weak, demanded more information, and I did my best to bolster her spirits. "Could you please tell me your neighbor's age, last name, and the circumstances surrounding her son's abduction?" Rachel is soon to become known as Lesnikova, and Carol moaned. "Adam, her 9-year-old son, is a great, intelligent, and serious young man. I didn't ask him, to be honest." Rachel was a music teacher at a private school, making a decent salary and putting in a lot of hard work. However, she was beset by a director who was already married and had children of his own. He threatened to harm Rachel if she didn't consent to his advances, and I have no idea who Adam's father is. Cohabitate with him as a result of the director's shameless groping of Rachel under her skirt in his office. Rachel slapped him and threatened to go to his wife and write a statement to the police. This sent the old goat into a tailspin, and while she was away, someone broke into her apartment in a way that couldn't be detected, making a mess and scattering Rachel's belongings all over the place. Cigarette butts and empty whiskey bottles littered the floor. As soon as Rachel brought her son home from school, child services and false witnesses barged in, claiming that Rachel was abusing her alcohol and neglecting her son. Rachel had no idea where this scum was coming from, so they removed Adam. "I promise. My neighbor never smoked, and the only times we had wine were on special occasions like birthdays and holidays. Her house was spotless every time I went there." Shortly put, Rachel was in utter shock. She pounded on the doors of every authority figure she could find, pleading for her son's return and proving that she had been slandered. To make matters worse, the director fired her and publicly shamed her, accusing her of being an alcoholic and an irresponsible mother who didn't belong at school. Ever since that day, Rachel has completely lost her spirit, spending her days sobbing and begging to go home, while Adam cries out to them. I feel terrible for Rachel and Adam, but I would rather strangle the nasty old man with connections who destroyed my neighbor's life for his lust. They only portray the place in a positive light on TV, showing how the children are well-fed and dressed. I was an orphan and lived there. It's a nightmare. As tears streamed down Craig's cheeks, they irritated his already damaged eyes, and he couldn't believe what he had heard. He inquired with a voice quivering, "Carol, I implore you to bring Rachel here tomorrow. I long to meet her, or at least hear her story. You see, we've known each other, but it's a long one." The girl was taken aback, but she nodded in agreement. "I'll accompany her tomorrow morning if she wants to, of course. But how can I explain everything to her?" The man asked, his voice quivering with emotion. "Just tell her that Craig is waiting for her." Meanwhile, Craig hid himself in his office, clutching his crown of head as he reminisced about his youth and Rachel from the time he was a little boy. Craig lived with his mother and never met his father. Growing up, she would tell him stories about his father being a geologist and Arctic explorer, but by the time he was an adult, Craig had figured everything out for himself and stopped asking those silly questions. As a little boy, Craig loved music and could sit for hours listening to his favorite melodies. Once, while visiting friends, he and his mother sat down at a piano and played the keys could perform a basic melody. He'll never forget the day he met Rachel Craig in a music class, a cute, slender girl sitting at a desk with two large bows and a folder full of sheet music, and how shocked he was. Ever since that day, Rachel and Craig became best friends, and they eventually decided to enroll in music college together. Their childhood friendship blossomed into love as they achieved their first major achievements and performed together. Rachel gave off an ethereal, ideal vibe for. She valued music more than material possessions, and she didn't mind living frugally with her family. However, Craig, being a man, yearned for the American dream. A house of his own, a fancy car, and a comfortable lifestyle. He forewent further education after graduating from college to try his hand at trading and starting a business, which exacerbated their arguments. "More dear Craig, Rachel," the man became enraged, "but you should not give up on music because of your talent. Your fingers were intended to play and create, so keep at it. Do you not realize that we are impoverished and have no means of subsistence? I fail to comprehend you. From the little money we make as musicians, who needs concerts? Instead, I'm working to buy you these beautiful gold earrings so you may eat well, dress well, and even give individual lessons. Another female would be happy with that. And stop trying to show me how to live my life. Instead, get a good job and stop being so selfish." Rachel was so hurt that she threw off her engagement ring and threw it at her fiancé. "I don't know what happened to you, but you've changed so much. You're cold and heartless now. All I want is a peaceful, simple family life. I don't care about money as much as I do about loyalty, trust, and love, and you seem to have gone absolutely bonkers, fixated on these monies to the point where you can't function. Your red eyes, inability to play the piano, and general lack of interest in music are all symptoms of this obsession. I refuse to accept payment from minors for private lessons." After an angry hand gesture, Craig said, "Well, go live your life the way you want, but you'll regret leaving me when I become a wealthy businessman." The couple argued and broke up for no apparent reason. Craig, meantime, went on to establish a network of automobile repair shops. He toiled tirelessly like a squirrel in a wheel, met Vanessa, got married, had a daughter, and then other worries started to pop up. In the midst of all this chaos, he had no time to reflect on his life before his wife died, which left him severely weakened. Then he met Rachel and fell for her charms. It's safe to say that he loved Diana, but there were all these other feelings, too, like passion and attachment, and he longed for the same radiant joy and trembling he had felt when he was with Rachel and music. Only now, when he heard that same, upon hearing a melody that Rachel had composed for him when he was younger, his heart tightened and an overwhelming desire to meet Rachel again so they could have a heart-to-heart conversation ensued. Love, no matter how fleeting, remains a constant in a person's life. Just thinking about Diana's pointless chit-chat about rags and washing bones for neighbors made the man anxiously await her departure for the beauty salon. He shaved and got ready for the day in the morning, and he couldn't wait. Friends was making him mad. Carol escorted Lisa to school and came home not alone, but with Rachel. Craig could only make out a hazy outline of the woman, but her soft, bell-like voice and the faint aroma of her floral perfume remained same. After hearing from Carol yesterday that Craig wanted to meet with me, I was taken aback. You've transformed into a violent and public figure. What changed to make you want to meet with me? Additionally, why are you wearing a black bandage over your eyes? Feeling under the weather? Dear Craig, while he listened to her words, tears fell down his cheeks. He reached out and felt Rachel's delicate hand, which had long, musical fingers. He kissed and caressed each finger, whispering, "My darling Rachel, I am so happy to see you, to breathe your scent. We were such fools to break up back then, and you ask what happened to me. I was pepper-sprayed in the face 2 weeks ago by a gang of thugs. Now I'm nearly blind and can only make out fuzzy shadows. Doctors have told me I need surgery, but it holds no significance." I asked Carol if I truly do have a son from a previous relationship, and she said yes. I asked Rachel if he was mine, and she told me yes. They took my little boy away from me. Now I can't sleep. I sit outside the orphanage and wait for Hill to wave at me from the window, and I can't help but wonder what I did to deserve this. Adam is your son, and I've never been with anyone else but you. In no way ever harmed someone. My life has been utterly devastated by that obnoxious goat, and he has bribed everyone to harm me to the maximum. I'm on the verge of agreeing to his requirements in order to regain custody of my son, because I see no other way out." As he nearly yelled out, "No, don't even think about it." Craig then proceeded to tightly grip her hand and offered to help her get her kid back by gathering all of their information, and yours as well. "Rest assured, I have connections within the police department. Henry Black, who you might not believe, is already a captain. I will return Adam to his family. I will not allow my kid to be abandoned, so please believe me. There will be no problems, Rachel." They said their goodbyes in a kind way, and Rachel found hope again. "I've never met anyone like you." After receiving a call from Craig, Henry promptly consented to his classmates' request that they do the operation. In order to set up a meeting and pretend to agree to the director's terms, Rachel had to call him. They gave her a microphone and told her to get her boss to confess so he could be caught. Rachel was distressed, but she was willing to do anything for her son. She took a deep breath and called the director. He reluctantly answered, asking why she was calling from inside and if she finally agreed. As she answered with as much grace as she could muster, Rachel's wrath was boiling over. "Hey there, Edward. Please return my son to me. I am willing to meet with you and meet anywhere you want. We should meet tomorrow at 6 o'clock in my office, where there is a cozy couch for conversations," he said with a grin. "My darling, I will be here when you return." Rachel, while feeling nauseous from the lecherous man's comments, composed herself and dressed provocatively, donning a pencil skirt, high-heeled shoes, a blouse with a deep neckline, and extra lipstick on top of her already full lips. Went to the director on shaky legs after carefully hiding and checking the recording device. The detective warned that Rachel would open the window if things got out of hand. Rachel knocked and entered the office, where the director sat comfortably, grinning hungrily. With an appreciative look on his face, he said, "Good evening, my little bird. I see that the situation has been good to you. You've become more talkative. Good job. It's been a while. Ooh, what an appetizing body. I'm smoking. Come on, take off." Your attire while I gawk at you. The image of Adam and the operators outside gave Rachel the strength to take out champagne and sweets, as she was virtually choking by his audacity and terrified that he might attack her. Uncorked the champagne and poured wine into glasses as Rachel got to the point, and Edward didn't complain when asked why they were moving so quickly. "Please assure me, Edward, that you are the one before we go. I need assurance that you will return my son. Who is to blame for what transpired? How did you," Edward grinned, "bring disrepute upon my honor? Had you been more accommodating from the beginning, we could have avoided this whole mess. Nobody has the right to reject me, and you act as though my secretary and PE teacher don't deserve the good pay and frequent bonuses that you receive. As for you, my dear and close friend, there's nothing complicated. She works for the guardianship authorities, and I paid her back by putting your son in an orphanage. I also hired bandits and witnesses to clean up your flat and get your money back. Now everything is straightened out, so if you want your son back faster, the more pleasure you give me. So take off your clothes and stop talking so much." Rachel realized she couldn't wait any longer, so she walked over to the window and opened it in a flash, and she started praying while she waited for the police officer to come. Surprisingly agile for his age, the director lost control and sprinted up to the woman, touching her inappropriately and attempting to pull her blouse off. The door slammed shut just as Rachel screamed and fought back. Her resistance met with Edward's forceful pushes, which threw everything off the table. "Shut up," he said, his voice trembling with frustration. "There's no one here anyway. Not even the janitor is left. Why did you decide to fight again? Have you lost your mind? You're engaging in such indecent behavior at your age. You're a married man with already established grandchildren. How will they feel about learning about what their grandfather has been up to?" The operative reprimanded the scoundrel as he stormed into the office. "You had me," the director cursed, struggling to break free. "I have connections, and you will pay for it." The police officer swiftly silenced him, "But we will address your connections at a later time. How did you manage to take this woman's kid and hide it from?" She handed the officer a recording device, and he reassured her, "We'll sort this out. I think you'll be reunited with your son soon. Don't worry. And we'll send the scoundrel to prison. People like him belong." Rachel finally relaxed, exhaled, and broke down into tears from the stress she had just endured. Will Adam be returned to her? Now that he confessed, didn't he? I did everything right. Following the public outcry over the lecherous director's conviction, the case garnered media attention and he went behind bars. While Craig eagerly anticipated the meeting with his son, Diana watched from the sidelines and decided to explain what was happening. Rachel had worked at the education institution for many years, and she was reinstated at work and her good name was restored. Most importantly, she was reunited with her son. The woman sobbed and kissed her son non-stop, and he couldn't let go of her embrace either. Could you maybe clarify anything to me? It seems like you're always on edge when we talk on the phone about Rachel and her son. Even though he couldn't see her twisted, furious face, the man could feel the hate and rage radiating from his young wife. In that instant, he knew he couldn't continue living with her. It was clear she wouldn't get along with his daughter. What's more, Craig didn't truly love her. It was more of a fleeting obsession. Meanwhile, Diana had grown increasingly overbearing, assuming control of, picturing herself as the mistress of everything in his house and getting nearly uncontrollable. Craig sighed loudly and started an unpleasant argument. If we had a lengthy, serious conversation, Diana, I'd be happy to answer your question first. Rachel is my first and only true love. We were music school classmates, but we foolishly broke up, and it turned out that she was pregnant before she knew it. She gave birth to our first child. I am now a parent of 2 children, having given birth to a son called Adam. Dear Lisa, Adam and I thought Diana was already acting out, but now you're claiming that there would be a male living here in addition to your spoilt daughter? How awful. Having children is something I'm still not ready for, and you're trying to force me to have them anyhow. Craig grinned sourly and said, You ignored me. Diana, our romance happened so rapidly that I didn't have time to process it. The passion dwindled, and now, 2 years later, we're practically strangers. You and Lisa are at odds, and it seems like you won't be able to find a address her. I'll leave you the apartment in the residential area and the car I gave you. Then, wow, I'm sorry you're on your own. You'll have to find a job and live like everyone else. I know it's hard to hear, but I'm not going to lie. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk to the doctor about the eye surgery. Then, we might have to part ways. Don't worry. Screaming, Diana leaped to her feet. That is clearly not her opinion. I will take what is properly mine since I am your wife, and you have given me half of your property and business. You are being very ungrateful. I have endured your intolerable daughter for 2 years while living with you. At least you could express your gratitude. By the way, I am no longer interested in living with you. I am young and have a whole life ahead of me. I would rather have fun and enjoy myself than be responsible for the upbringing of another person's children. I'm sorry, but I can't continue to be your husband now that I'm blind. Craig finally snapped. So that's how you talk about me. When I was healthy, I would buy you gifts and gold and be a good husband. Now that I'm disabled, though, I'm not good enough, so I guess we can just say goodbye. Diana changed tactics because she realized she had said too much. Okay, honey, let's stop. We both got angry and said too much. Let's wait until you're well enough to have this unpleasant conversation. Said a month ago, not earlier, lest complications arise. Otherwise, I will kiss you. However, the man's words came across as so artificial and insincere that he abruptly distanced himself from his wife and responded angrily, I wish I had said everything sorry. I must listen to the meeting recording that my deputy sent. Diana bolted out of the man's office, her rage bubbling over. Oh, you miserable invalid, she muttered under her breath. He's leaving me an apartment. How am I supposed to live? It took me a while. After Carol and Lisa's after-school drawing and sculpting sessions, Craig ignored his wife's warnings and went to see a professor instead. Rachel offered to accompany him as a friend, which was a lovely gesture. When they returned home, they found a horrific mess. The safe was open and empty, and a lot of valuable items and technology were missing. Carol was so terrified that she contacted the police and Craig, saying, We have an emergency. Lisa and I had just gotten. Returning to the scene of the crime. I find that your entire world has been turned upside down. The safe is open, the TV is missing, and there were documents on your shelf. Perhaps there is more, but I am unable to determine it at this moment. I have contacted the authorities, and they have instructed Carol to accompany Lisa to the children's room. Once there, lock the door behind you and refrain from opening it until I arrive." The man promptly forgot about his illness. Diana and Tim, the driver, were running, and Craig, horrified, turned on the video camera. Through the house, snatching up any and all precious documents, jewelry, electronics, and cash that caught their eye. The wife became enraged when she discovered the cameras and yelled, "There you go, hubby, you'll remember me." Tim reacted angrily, saying, "What a lucky wretch." Without blinding him, they would have sent Lisa to a shelter and lived like kings. Diana yelled at Tim to hurry up, saying that the nanny and Lisa would be back any second. They purchased plane tickets to a warm location last minute since they needed to sell everything. As Craig reeled from astonishment, the cops seized the fingerprints and raced to apprehend two lovers. "I warned you a long time ago that Daddy Diana doesn't love us. She's nasty and uncaring. You didn't believe me, but now you're going to kick her out, aren't you?" Craig's daughter reassured and held her father. "Diana will no longer be residing with us, but I would like to present you to Craig, who kissed his princess, who is maturing at an alarming rate. The one to a lovely lady. I hope you two get along." "Diana and Tim will definitely face punishment from the police and go to prison," the daughter asked anxiously. "Rachel, who visited us once, has a son named Adam, who is your brother. There's a long story behind it, but you'll understand it when you're older. The doctor said that you may never see clearly again." "What does it mean for you, Dad?" "Yes, I'm having surgery on Monday," Craig told his daughter. He also promised that he and Carol would be together constantly after the procedure. "Adam and his mother will accompany me to the hospital, so please listen to Carol and be a good girl." The cops tracked down the couple in Tim's apartment, apprehended them, and sent them to the station. Now they face fair punishment for stealing from and attempting to harm Craig. The dark, wet government walls, the filthy mattress, and the horrible gruel sent Diana into a state of fear. Terrifying terror, she was unaware of what lay ahead until now. She wept all night long and swore at herself, "Full idiot. Why didn't I just live peacefully? And now I'm in this with Tim?" She needs to see Craig immediately to ask for forgiveness. He's nice, so I'm sure he'll grant it. In exchange, she promises to leave the city as soon as possible, to any place other than prison. In the meantime, Craig had surgery and filed for a divorce, letting his lawyer handle everything. With him was Rachel. Adam was timid and ashamed at first, so Carol stayed at home to take care of the kids. But the rest of the daytime drama, it didn't take long for Lisa and Craig to become fast friends, and they even found a common language. After school, they would always visit Craig in the hospital, where he felt at home. Everyone was waiting impatiently for the bandage to be removed from his eyes, as the operation had been successful. Craig, Rachel, Carol, and the children became a tight-knit, supportive family. Adam and Lisa knew their father was sick, and they did their best to avoid. It was difficult for Craig to contain his emotions as he watched his bandage being delicately removed. Tears welled up in his eyes as he instinctively closed them, but as he slowly opened them, he could finally see the world as it had been before the tragedy. The doctor examined Craig and gave him the all-clear, telling him to get ready for discharge. As he walked out of the office, smiling broadly, he saw Rachel in the hallway and couldn't help but exclaim, "My darling, I've always known you hadn't changed, but I never realized how stunning you'd become with those long, curly eyelashes, that lock behind your ear, and those same beautiful lips. Now I can look at you and admire you every time I see you. And I owe a great debt of gratitude to Carol for playing our melody on the piano. I nearly passed out from the emotional impact. You wrote it yourself, Rachel. I'm so glad you're back in my life. I'm prepared to sell my company too. It's been a source of frustration for me, but I've worked hard enough to provide enough for my family for a long time. Why don't we just attempt to live our lives according to your wishes, surrounded by love, harmony, and our favorite music?" As Rachel sobbed and hugged, "I still love you, Craig, and I wish you'd tell me that you're a little idiot. I remember when we first kissed, you were playing this song, and I was so sad that you prioritized money and business over our love and our musical vocation. I was enchanted by the Moonlight Sonata as we spent the night gazing at the Big Dipper in the night sky. We kissed passionately, and you wrapped me in your jacket to protect me from the rain. I felt the happiest ever. Do you believe me? Now everyone is waiting for us at home." When Lisa saw her father step out of the car with such confidence, she knew he could see. She hurried over to tell him, "Hooray, Daddy! You're feeling better. I'm so happy. Let's go. We baked you such a cake." A delectable cake that will surely become your favorite. While Adam and I assisted Carol, Adam timidly stood on the sidelines, afraid to approach Craig. Despite their continued lack of proper communication, the man instructed Lisa to rush into the house and confront the boy directly. "Hello, son," he said. "Finally I see you and can look at you. We look alike. Ears and a smile are definitely mine. You can't deny it. Did your mom tell you that I'm your dad?" Adam was upset that he hadn't known anything about you before. 9 years of your life had gone by. "Now that we've met, though, let me be a real father." He reached out and firmly shook the boy's hand before whispering, "I'm glad you're with me now, Dad. I can see how Mom is smiling." The boy's father was the closest person in his life, and he wanted his kid to know that his love for him would never lead him to harm or abandon him. "Now that we've made peace with Lisa, who is your little sister, let's all live together as one large family. Stay strong, support each other, and eat lunch together," Craig told the child as he embraced him. Everything changed for the wealthy businessman Craig Appleton the day he sold his thriving company. He devoted himself fully to his family and music, rediscovering old melodies and playing them on the piano every morning. He even dug out his old notebook of music, surprising everyone. Since both Rachel and Craig have enormous innate abilities, it worked out wonderfully when Rachel became his private tutor and also educated the children. Before taking a chance and opening their private music school, the couple got married in a low-key ceremony. They didn't want anyone to notice them, so they didn't make a big deal out of their union. It wasn't until recently that Craig realized he had been living someone else's life, choosing the wrong career path, the wrong woman, and letting inertia hold him back. The one thing he didn't regret was his daughter Lisa, who was his inspiration and drove him to live and create. During this period, Rachel and Lisa became fast friends since Lisa was a teacher and Rachel was a naturally nurturing person who loved children. Carol was concerned that she would lose her job, but Craig and Rachel quickly reassured her that she wouldn't be fired if she stayed at their house. The kids would be lost without you, and even with Lisa, things were never boring. At this particular moment, there are 2 little children who require constant supervision. Praying for a meeting with her attorney, Diana languished in pretrial custody. The young woman's skin became dull and lifeless, and she became thin. Diana felt sick at the thought of spending the next years in this stuffiness. She was overwhelmed with despair and longing. So when she heard that her ex-husband was ready to meet her, she nearly jumped for joy. However, Craig purposefully dragged out the process until the end, all in an effort to teach her a lesson and forever discourage her from wanting to steal and cheat. She dipped her head into the liquor for bargaining, and he recoiled in fear. That was how drastically Diana had changed. There was no sign of her former self-assurance or impudence. The woman then began to subtly beg, weeping over her tears, "Pardon me, please, Craig. Remove the statement. I refuse to go to jail and am literally dying here. If you can, I will immediately return to my mother, and I will never be a part of your life again. Pity on me. Pardon my transgressions," Greg responded. "I hope Jill served as an excellent lesson for you. You won't steal someone else's property anymore. At least not from the one who feeds you. And you won't kill your next husband either. That plan failed. I see now that my vision has fully recovered. By the way, Lisa is a wonderful child. She gets along with Rachel, Adam, and Carol. The camera footage is secure, and I will remove the accusation, but I promise you that you will face the consequences if you return." Everyone in the city wanted their children to attend Diana's music school, and she cried and said a little thank you as she did so. The apples brought harmony to her family and the city as a whole. Lisa and Adam were also involved, but the youngster picked up the guitar. While Lisa opted for the piano, everyone in the family loved the songs that Rachel would write or that Craig would compose, and Rachel would often construct her own melodies. Ultimately harmonizing the fulfillment Greg had hoped for finally arrived in his life.